Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone around the world. This is Crypto Dale broadcasting live from shitty weather ass town, Iowa, USA. Wassa, 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 what's up? Is that not the dopest video on right now? Hey,
Wow.
hey.
Carlos Patos.
Oh, that's too funny. What's up, guys? Killer, what's going on, my man?
Hello, it's another lovely Tuesday here in LA. Doing well, other than this market crash. We got a little bit of Bitfinex drama with Tether, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. How are you guys doing?
Not too shabby. It's 28 degrees or so here today. It's a damn heat wave, like Prince normally does. I was in a sweatshirt today. So, Prince, what's good, man? How's the weather up there?
I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to say anymore. It's friggin' cold out, man. I don't know what to say. Like, it is chilly, so it sucks. Don't come out here for winters. Stay out of Canada in the winter.
It's always cold in Canada.
Dale, you
Let's
alive?
be real.
So fuck
Bobby,
happened to Dale?
how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's been an interesting day. The whole Tether thing has been a fun experience for sure. So it's been pretty interesting to watch how that's panned out. So I've been enjoying that.
What have been kind of your like broad thoughts on Tether, like leading up to today? What have you thought about it in the past?
So I'm kind of the opinion in a lot of respects where it's like you got something like Tether and a lot of people will say negative things about it, and you have, the Bitfinex Twitter account, you have everybody who kind of agrees with that, whatever it might be. But just in my experience, at least in crypto, it's like wherever there's been smoke, there's been fire. Like wherever there's been rumors about something bad happening, it's been like a week or 2 weeks, and then that bad thing happens. So when that goes down, Traditionally, I think all they'd have to do is just show an audit and it would be fine, or actually do something to support their claims, and they've just kind of refused to do that. So I think that in and of itself has kind of been sketchy on my end.
Very telling. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be this big catastrophic thing, even if it does end up completely blowing up. But there's so much smoke here. I mean, I'd be really surprised if they weren't up to some sketchy business, at this point. I mean, I think Bitfinex has been very vindicated.
What I find kind of interesting is now we're hearing today that really this came out, like the CFTC notified Tether or Bitfinex around December 6th about this actually, and so we're just finding out about this now. But since that's happened, we've seen a lot of times where the Tether printing press has gone on, in full force. Another thing I find kind of interesting is that we look at December 6th, the days that just go after December 6th, we had some really good movement higher, going up like 17%, 20% or so in a day for the next few days that followed. So it's like, and then I'm looking at the hourly chart and, you kind of see these market sells that go on for a candle and they're like identical sell volume. And it's like, this is interesting, like I wonder who, maybe someone's playing this and, we're just they're the puppet master and we're just the puppets right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I missed out on a little bit of what you guys were hearing there. I actually got kicked off the call a second ago. But this Tether thing, apparently something that was interesting to me, I don't know if you guys mentioned this, the subpoena was on December 6th.
Yeah.
So it's just come out in the news now, but they actually got served the subpoena about a month and a half ago. So I wonder if there's even more information that we haven't got yet. I mean, I would imagine something's happened in the past month and a half.
The crazy thing too, I think, is that how much Tether they've printed in the past month and a half since that subpoena came out. So it's like either they're
500 million.
Yeah, either they literally don't care at all about anything, or they're completely fine. It's like one or the other. Like they're the biggest crooks in the world, or their business is totally legit and they don't mind about the subpoena. It's like there's no in between.
Yeah.
Hey, so my question is, sorry, like Killer, I got kicked off there too. It said Bobby kicked me from the chat, which is a little strange, but
I'm next.
So how can they
being sabotaged by the guests?
Yeah. So how can they, because Bitfinex is not based in the USA, correct?
That's the thing. We don't know where it's based. They won't say.
They're not.
So how can I mean, how can the U.S. subpoena them? Is what
Well, you know, it's
my
funny,
question
like,
is.
how, like, I don't know, like, and I'm not a lawyer, right? I think like maybe getting a legal professional might be better at this. Get Bully on here, but I saw someone mention this on Twitter that, you know, it was kind of like that for BitConnect. They got like kind of authorized or whatever, a letter from, it was Texas, I do believe.
Yeah.
So, and they're not, I don't believe they're based out of Texas. I think, aren't they out of Europe or something? That's what I thought. So, you know, I'm not sure.
Well, I know Bitfinex is not really, we don't really know where they are. And that's one of the big things that Bitfinex is always harping on. He's like, we don't even know where these people are located. They have no address.
Yeah.
Like, you do bring it up, it's like a PO box or something. And it's like, I mean, I think the reason they can come under U.S. jurisdiction is because at a certain point, I want to say for a few years at least, they were open to U.S. customers. So I would imagine there's some kind of, again, not legal advice, not a lawyer, but I would imagine there's some kind of like, you know, backwards sort of thing where the U.S. can go, okay, you're not doing this right now. Maybe you haven't been doing it the past 4 months, but you did it for the 3 years prior to that. So I would imagine that gives them some sort of power. And I think it was really telling when Bitfinex closed down access to U.S. users. I mean, that's really a telling thing. When an exchange starts doing stuff like that, that's a pretty big red flag to me. Not always, but I mean, just because the U.S. has some securities laws that you might just want to avoid otherwise. But it was definitely not encouraging. You know, and with Bitfinex too, it's like there's so many straws on the camel's back. Like we were talking about with you, Bobby, earlier. There's so much smoke. I'd be shocked if they're not up to some fuckery.
I mean, to get subpoenaed, they've got to be up to, you know, there's got to be some red flags too. But like Bobby, you mentioned earlier, I don't know how with as many tethers as they've printed in the last month with that subpoena being December 6th, I don't know how, you know, they must obviously feel pretty comfortable with their legal situation to keep doing that, or they just don't give a fuck. I mean,
either that or they're just
other.
flipping the bird to the
Dude,
US
they're probably
government.
so fucking rich at this point, they don't give a shit. Like, you could do anything to them, and like they're just like, as long as they don't go to jail for like the next 10 or 30 years, they're like, fuck it, I don't care. It was worth like the 3 years I'll have to do or something. And maybe it was, you know?
yeah,
It's like getting a steroid suspension in baseball. Like, yeah, you're suspended for a year, but you still have that 10-year, $200 million contract.
There's that Barry Bonds, fucking
Ryan Braun.
No Hall of Fame ever.
Sammy Sosa.
Jesus.
My Cubs are innocent though, so back off.
No one on the Cubs has ever used PEDs.
Fact. So let's talk about the current market conditions. I know a lot of people are maybe climbing the clock tower or something like that today with everything. So, Bobby, what's your take on everything going on right now?
So, I mean, my take on it is, I think that for the most part, when I'm looking at this, if Tether can definitely drop the market more. If the news of the subpoena came out, some other kind of FUD has been driving the market downwards. But I think that overall, Tether could, if it's the information around Tether is substantiated and that's proven to be false, or that's proven to actually be true, and there's a reason they were subpoenaed and all this bad stuff gets confirmed, I think that'll definitely dip the market even further. How I'm approaching it right now is, I mean, I'm not a big like daily trader, swing trader. I've been kind of buying. I've been looking at this as a decent sized buying opportunity for some of these cryptocurrencies that I've liked recently. Specifically, some like Neo that have looked pretty good recently. Some of these other ones, some of the platform plays that I've been a fan of. I've been kind of eyeing opportunities here. Because I think that eventually the market will get over it, and if it dips, I'm not going to go all in right now. I don't think we're at the bottom by any stretch, but I think this could be a decent sized opportunity to kind of dive in a little bit and kind of buy the dip, like everybody always says.
One thing I've been kind of wondering about tethers is Bitfinex is always saying how you can move the market to like 200 million by printing like 1 million worth of tethers or some shit. I haven't looked that deeply into it, so I'm not really sure exactly. I'm sure he's got some good reason if that claim hasn't been completely blown up yet. But anyway, with that in mind, Tether's market cap is about 2 billion, right? So the total crypto market cap is about 506 billion right now. I mean, because you think about it in those terms, and you're like, well, if 2 billion gets wiped out of 506, who cares? It's like it's a blip on, it's a drop in the bucket. But I guess there's some sort of, I don't know if any of you guys have seen that, but maybe that amount of money affects far more. Yeah, I'm sure.
There was something from JP Morgan recently. I think it was like back in September, October, about back when the market cap was like $300 billion. that according, and I don't know how they did this research, but JP Morgan came out and said that $300 million or $300 billion market cap is due to $6 billion, I think it was $6 billion of net inflow. So if you look at it like that and you consider that Tether is all just net inflow, that if there's, you'd probably assume there's definitely, since that $300 billion market cap, maybe we have twice as much. So maybe we have $10, $12 billion of net inflow into the market now. If Tether is all net inflow, that's like 20-25% of the market cap, or of the market that's driving that price up. So that's kind of, I think, part of that theory is around net inflow and some of that like JP Morgan research, and I think kind of what Bifinex has been talking about in that respect too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I something that I find too is I think at times market caps can be a little deceiving, because it's fairly easy, if someone's got the deep enough pocket for it, they can move a market cap in whatever way they want to move it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to remember it's a supply and demand thing, and the holders can make the sells, so they decide where they want to sell it. So it's tricky with the whole market cap thing. I think at times people get a little deceived by it.
Yeah. What do you guys think is going to happen with this BitConnect nonsense and this Carlos Mata? I thought that video he posted on Twitter was hilarious. I don't know why he's anywhere near social media right now.
That was a parody. I was just DMing the guy who made that today.
Wait, really?
Yeah, he came out like 3 hours ago and said it was a parody.
What?
So yeah, it's a sad day. It's a sad
That's
day.
not Carlos?
No, it's not.
It's him
That's
saying
not the
he's
guy?
from New York and in the muscle
He
t-shirt.
he found his Facebook profile and ripped the video off his Facebook profile.
I was gonna say, 'cause that had to have been a long time ago. I think it's pretty chilly in New York right now. But man, what a goon.
Oh yeah,
Carlos.
I love the gif of him on stage where he shoots the lasers out of his eyeballs and mouth, and he's like, "What's up, boy?"
yeah.
Kind of beam.
The EDM
You know
remix
what,
was
though?
awesome.
The guy's got some spunk to him, and he could probably sell ice to an Eskimo.
Oh, frick, no doubt.
It's too bad he's a scam, involved in a scam like this.
Yeah.
I think he was like, I don't even know what to think. Like, I honestly do wonder if maybe he was just maybe that dumb about it all that he didn't realize. I don't know. Like, he's an interesting character. I saw a video that he posted way back, and it was like a year and a half ago or something. And he's like in this public swimming pool area in like some change room, and he's talking about how if you just decide, you can get success. And it was just like, it was one of the most comical things I've seen. Like, it was just, in this public place, filming in like a locker room, and you see people walking behind him and shit like this. It's just like, oh God, he's doing a motivational pep talk.
It kind of goes to show you, though, like, you really can accomplish a lot with just like blind enthusiasm and confidence. I'm not saying he's not a smart guy, because I'm sure to make that much money, he had to have some kind of business skill and sense. But there really is, in my life, that's one thing I found is you really do have to, believe in yourself. And I know it's like corny and cheesy and whatever, but
you got to have a drive, an inner drive.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, you're not really going to do anything, I don't think.
No, for sure.
I rewatched the BitConnect thing where he was going crazy. And I was dying laughing when he's like, my wife is mad at me for doing this, even though I've made $160,000, and I was just like, I wonder what she thinks now.
He's getting his ass kicked. My wife would kick my ass, I'll tell you that.
Fuck.
I wonder what Trey's up to. Bitcoin Trey.
Fuck that dude, yeah. That's
Has he been seen on social media? Is he still actually posting shit?
I think he's kind of gone ghost a little bit.
Pretty smart.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to be in his situation.
Yeah. So, I mean, the craziest thing is like, I really touched on this a little bit on Twitter, but this is yet another problem with an exchange. And it seems like we always kind of shelf this conversation until the next like catastrophic thing happens. But then we go, see, these exchanges suck, right, everybody? And it's like, yeah, but then like you get like kind of used to it, and you get kind of used to like storing your money on these exchanges. Like, I just want to reiterate, that's a really bad idea. You cannot trust these exchanges. A lot of them are not regulated properly, at least not to the degree, something like a Charles Schwab or like an E-Trade, something you might use to buy stocks. And I mean, there's some pluses and minuses that come with that, but it really makes me think that, decentralized exchanges are going to be a super interesting thing, especially in 2018. And you're seeing it that they're capitalizing on these negative headlines with regular exchanges like Bitfinex, Bittrex, you know, everyone having customer service issues. You're seeing some of the heads of these decentralized exchanges go on major like news networks. Like today, I saw the founder of AirSwap, Michael Oved. He was on Bloomberg at like 4:30 in the afternoon. Like this is like awesome. The day this stuff came out. Yeah. And it's like Johnny on the spot, perfect opportunity to go, yeah, you know, this is a problem. So I think those are going to be super interesting, especially in light of this.
I see there's a good question here. I'm just creeping over this chat. Crypto Philip says, the elephant in the room, how much regulation belongs in crypto? And I think this is a pretty good question.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, I think, it makes you think, and it's a tough one because I don't really think there is a right answer. It's like, obviously we all want no regulation to a degree because we want to have some freedom and competitive markets and all that. But at the same time, with a Wild West like we have, and, I think obviously the markets have gotten cleaned up a lot more than they used to be, which says something because they're still pretty wild right now. But
yeah, what do you think of that, Bobby? Like regulation in crypto, like what do you think is like a good amount, if any?
So I think that there inevitably is going to be regulation. Like I know like the hardcore kind of like original OGs in crypto a lot of them were drawn to the space because of like libertarian ideals and they wanted to get around regulation, and that's great. And I probably lean towards that way, but at the same point in time, I am not. I think we're going to get regulated at some point in time, or I mean, there already obviously is a certain degree of regulation. I think probably the biggest thing in a lot of respects is like the KYC around the fiat on-ramp. Like that is, I feel like the biggest choke point for regulation is when you're looking at like the Coinbases and the Geminis. It's really easy to regulate crypto when you're regulating how to get the US dollar into crypto, unless somebody's going to like a local bitcoins.com and taking 10,000 bucks in cash and flipping that to somebody on the street corner. But outside of that, it's pretty easy to regulate. If I want to, sync up a Wells Fargo bank account to Coinbase, and I have to have my social security number and my passport and all that stuff associated with that. The difficult part, I guess, beyond that and how much they regulate this, I'm kind of curious about is, with something like a Binance or a Bittrex or a Huobi or some of those other ones that maybe don't have as much KYC. And once you get it Bitcoin or Ethereum, you can send that to one of these non-KYC'd exchanges, and then you can just do anything with it. And there's definitely a trail of it, but there's not as much of a trail. So that's kind of the interesting point. But I guess there's always going to be a degree of regulation, because I think the biggest thing the government's going to harp on is like, we can't have money laundering, we can't have financing of terrorism or something like that. And if that happens once, then it's going to be like game over, and it's going to be, target 101 for all these politicians as far as saying, hey, we're going to regulate this stuff.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I'll quickly sum up what I was going to say. In a lot of ways, we're still a niche market. So if we really want to legitimize ourselves, I think regulations are kind of in order. So.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that, Prince, I think for the big institutional money to come into this space, we're going to need some sort of regulation. I mean, they're not willing to just put some of their money for their customers and investors in something where, there's no regulations. That's just kind of my opinion also.
Yeah, and I think it's like a lot of people think there's like this happy medium where it's like, just the right amount of regulation. Where it's like running smoothly and there's no fraud and everything's great. Everyone's anonymous. It's like, that's a pipe dream. That's not going to happen, I don't think. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to see more regulation, but it's going to be kind of like a cat and mouse game. Basically, kind of like to compare it to baseball and steroids or performance enhancing drugs in sports, where the tests get a little bit better, the drugs get a little bit better, the tests get a little bit better, yada, 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 over and over. Rinse and repeat forever. Who ends up winning that eventually? I think probably like the decentralized, like screw the government crowd. I don't know if I agree with that or not, but like I think there's more power in technology, and I think the government really is lagging on their understanding of this sort of stuff, and they're already playing catch up. So to expect them to, I mean, granted they have a ton of resources, but I mean, you see it with some of like the cyber threats and how the U.S. gets taken advantage of. I mean, we don't have like the best people in programming, coding, I don't think, in the government in general. And maybe that's a generalization, but I think most of the most skilled people in programming and stuff like that are on the private side. They're doing their own thing. They're working for private companies. They have their own companies. So it's almost like this passive aggressive battle between these two parties.
Mm-hmm.
Let them regulate the hedge funds and institutionals. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. So Hodl Monkey is saying, let them regulate the hedge funds and institutions that want to invest in crypto, but not the crypto itself. I kind of agree with that. I think that that'll be kind of an intermediate measure. These hedge funds definitely need to be regulated. All these big crypto funds do, because they're handling other people's money. So it's way different than if you're just saying, hey, I'm going to spend my $50 in beer money this weekend on Bitcoin instead. So that's necessary, but that's hard to do too. And all this stuff is tough. I mean, because you can't just slap the same regulations that you have on equities and stocks and bonds and stuff like that onto crypto, because it's way different.
Yeah, like, crypto's borderless, right? And that's a big thing. Like, we've seen China try to ban Bitcoin how many times in the past? And, good luck. You can say you're trying to ban it, but you're not going to ban it. Because, you're going to have to take some extremely drastic measures, and it's going to have to be a combined effort if you really want to ban it. And I don't see that happening. So, the regulations, it'll be more along the lines for, exchanges. I think exchanges are really going to be the biggest thing that we're going to see get moved around. So,
yeah, Bearded Patriot is saying the FBI couldn't unlock the San Bernardino terrorist iPhone. LOL. I totally agree, man. That's like the example I cite to a lot of people like who don't really know Bitcoin and blockchain, but they think they do. And they're like, wow, what if it gets hacked? They're like, what if you hack it? I'm like, first of all, it's never the protocol that's getting hacked. Yeah. Not really. I mean, it's the third-party vendors that have to do with Bitcoin services, which is way different. Like, so A, but like B, I mean, the government is not that skilled in this stuff. So like, I think they can probably track Bitcoin transactions now. I think they've recruited companies like, I think, is it Chain Analysis? Yeah. Yeah. So that's like very interesting. And that's a huge misconception around Bitcoin too, is Bitcoin's anonymous and it's only used for drug deals. Like, if you're buying drugs with Bitcoin right now, you are out of your mind.
I think Chris Berniski, I think at Consensus said, I forget what he said exactly on stage, but it's pretty funny. But he was like, yeah, you're better off, he said, like, you're better off buying, you're worse off buying a kilo of Coke with Bitcoin than you are with cash or something else. He was just if you're buying drugs with Bitcoin, you're an absolute idiot. And
it's usually the people who don't really know a whole bunch about Bitcoin, though, that think that Bitcoin is just this anonymous currency thing, to go buy drugs and weapons.
Yeah, and like I remember I read this article by what the hell is the guy's name? Mark Andreessen of Andreessen Horowitz. They're a venture capital firm in Silicon Valley. Really smart guy, Mark Andreessen. It was an article about Bitcoin, and he was like, one of the biggest misconceptions is that this stuff is anonymous. It's actually the exact opposite. Like, everything is made record, every single transaction. And I had used Bitcoin before then, but I was like pretty new. And I remember when I was reading that, I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, this doesn't make any sense at all. And like, it didn't like sink in at all. And I think it just kind of speaks to blockchain and crypto and how it's super tough, very dense, and it takes a really long time to grasp. Or maybe I'm an idiot, but I'm sure you guys can speak to your experiences.
Yeah, I think the notion of it.
Still there, Dale?
We lost Dale again.
Dale's out.
Dale's trying to.
Dude, this is getting ridiculous.
Is that I have an internet?
I'm not even on the internet anymore. Like, I'm straight up on my phone, and
that could be the problem, Dale.
Ridiculous.
We can't live stream video over cornfields.
It doesn't help. I'm sitting in the top of a silo out in the farm.
Dale is buying.
trying to get the best.
Dale just leaves mid-podcast to buy something.
Just wants to watch that moon tonight.
The dips that I'm buying go in your lip, not on your tracer. Bobby, let's talk about. Some people think that maybe we're heading towards a bear market. I've seen people comment on that on Twitter. Back, if you look at history, this is generally the time where it's alt season, so to say. So let's get your take on if we're headed towards a bear market, or if you think the alts could spring up and we could see maybe an alt market.
So I think with Bitcoin right now, we at least need to for alts to kind of have like a alt summer, whatever anybody wants to call it, whatever season anybody wants to associate it with. Bitcoin at least needs to stabilize. Like if Bitcoin goes up too hard, then it sucks money out of the altcoins. If Bitcoin goes down too hard, the altcoins go down harder than Bitcoin does because everybody sells their altcoins to move into Bitcoin and then maybe to move out of Bitcoin to the USD. So I'd like to see some stabilization with that. The one thing I've been kind of interested in within the past month or so has been ICOs. I've seen a pretty consistent pattern as far as like ICOs that seem to have a decent market capitalization, like under $50 million in market cap, preferably like under $30 million in market cap, that are raising conservative amounts of money. And that's been like the one area that I've seen that it seems like people are getting excited about, and it seems like that there's been a pretty, at least for now, like I'm looking at ICOs now as kind of one of the areas where I'm hopefully going to be seeing outsized returns. And we kind of had that period back in like June, July, and August where that was like everybody was throwing money into ICOs and just making a ton. And there have been a couple recently that have happened that have made some pretty nice movements. And I'm starting to participate more and more kind of after that big Bitcoin Miami conference that I went to, or the North American Bitcoin conference, whatever it was. It was like everybody and their mom there had an ICO that they were pitching, and 98% of them were crap. But there were 1 or 2% good ones, and those ones I'm pretty excited about, looking into or trying to move into more. And that's kind of the one thing that I've been focusing on more as like maybe the market itself has cooled off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ICOs are kind of nice too, because there's sort of a mental edge in thinking I'm in at the ground floor. And there's a lot of confidence that gives you going into a position. I mean, if you're buying something that's up 1,000 or 3,000% in the last year, you might think it's going to go up. You might think the trend is going to continue, but shit, you zoom out on that chart and it's an awfully long way down. It's kind of a comforting thing to be starting at the bottom. And I think that just kind of lends to confidence of holding, not being scared by potential bad news relating to the coin. And it's funny because you can tell yourself all this stuff too. You can be like, in terms of holding through FUD, you can be like, I'm not going to sell. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm not going to let this news affect me. But then you actually start getting into it and like reading bad news about your coins. You're like, Jesus, this could actually be bad. It's like, it's hard to keep that perspective, I think.
Yeah. I think a lot of people want to call like numbers on this whole thing. Oh, where's the lowest Bitcoin's going to go? Oh, we'll go to 8K and then we'll bounce up. And I think it's interesting. And I think maybe 8K is still a little high. I think we're going to see a lot of chop. It's going to be disgusting in a sense. It's going to break a lot of people, the chop, and it's going to be up and down. Bears and bulls are going to get friggin' screwed. And I think though in the long run, we might see max pain of around 4K. That's max pain to me.
4K.
That's gonna hurt. Take that back.
That's like a flash crash. That's max pain to me. I don't know if we'll really, in a true bear market, if we go out.
So yeah, exactly. We don't allow bear crashes.
You guys can rip on me. I'm being me right now.
We're trying to pump these markets, fellas. Yeah.
Prince obviously doesn't have any Bitcoin right now.
Here's the thing. I've also been kind of hedged for this shit for the last few weeks now, so I don't really give a shit. But still, I want to see it go up. Obviously, but I'm being realistic, and I think we look at how much we've done in the past year. Christ, we started below 1,000. I think like at least for me, and now
there's so many angry people.
Comments are loving your 4K.
Yeah, are these guys losing it? They're losing it. They're losing it.
4K. Yeah. Who the fuck is this guy?
Probably the same people who are screaming buy the dip at 17 and 16K. That's all right. That's all right.
I know Sheik does a lot of support.
Something I want to touch on is in the baby pod today, someone was saying something about why are the markets down? What news events is going on? And I said, and I got caught some shit for this. I said, guys, when the market moves, there doesn't necessarily always need to be a reason and rhyme and reason why.
I couldn't agree more.
So let's maybe touch on that. And I know, Killer, you've kind of been a big proponent of that on a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
I remember you talked. So let's just all kind of elaborate our take on that and
So
maybe
yeah,
tell that person why Dale was right.
Yeah, Dale is right. Whoever was arguing with him, you're absolutely wrong. You should be extremely ashamed of yourself. Quit crypto. Give me all your holdings and convert it all to Lux. Anyway, people always want a reason for everything. Uncertainty is a scary thing in human nature. I mean, we've all, I think, been in like a bad relationship where it's like, it's shitty, but the uncertainty of what the other stuff is like scarier, so you get locked in it. So people want explanations. The fact of the matter is, 99% of the time, there is not a very specific reason the market goes up or down. So it's just kind of, I mean, if you really boiled it down enough, there are so many different millions of different factors going into every single price move. From some guy in Florida who decides, I'm going to buy a Jaguar today, or I'm buying a Ferrari today. Fuck it all. I'm selling all my crypto. And like, that's part of it. But like, take that times a million people or times billions of people. And so that just goes to show you how complex the entire sort of omelet that you see on a chart is as a result of that. So to try to boil it down to like one easy to describe reason is erroneous. It's false. There's no way to do it. And so it's just wrong. I mean, granted, sometimes there is an obvious reason, but most of the time it's just normal market movement.
I agree with that too. And like in the case of today, like when you had the Tether stuff come out on Bloomberg, like that's a pretty obvious reason why people sold off, pretty obvious reason why the market dipped. But there's a lot of times where there's nothing, like, and everybody wants to point to one specific news article and they literally just make things up and they're like, oh, it's this thing or it's that thing. And it's not the case. There's not, some people buy stuff, some people sell shit. It's one, the market goes up, the market goes down. There's not always going to be a specific reason for it, and especially in something as volatile as crypto, there could be some big whale behind the scenes or bunch of people that are taking profits and buying, like you said, a bunch of Jaguars, houses, who knows? No idea.
Yeah. And there's so much manipulation too. Like I was taking a look at some volume charts earlier today for some coins I like, just looking at their average daily volume. And these are like fairly big sized coins. They're not large caps, but they're certainly probably mid caps. And the daily volume on these things is still such a joke. I mean, you look at like, I think the coin I was looking at trades like $4 million a day on like a certain exchange, or maybe even total. And that was like the top exchange. And so I'm like, that's nothing, $4 million a day. So the liquidity is still nowhere near. I think there's still a lot of room for money to come in, but just like you were saying, it's so easy to manipulate a coin where only 5 million worth is traded every day. I mean, if you have that much capital, you can like create an entire day's worth of movement basically in the snap of a finger. So, and you never know what that is. I mean, what's happening behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. And hey, if you have that capital, send it to me. I'll double it in a week and send it back to you.
1% daily interest, bro.
I got to give a shout out to all the guys in the baby pod. Some of them were tagging me. They're like, baby pod represent. And one guy goes, shout out Prince, just put in 100x short.
Damn it, Prince.
Oh man, this is not financial advice.
Bitcoin to 4K.
Yeah. What Prince doesn't tell you is he put in like a buy order like 10% below the current price before hopping on the podcast.
Yeah, I say something, but I'm doing the opposite. So
don't give your secrets away.
Don't take everything at its word. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's move to. Got anything else for Bobby before we move to over under?
Is there anything just currently going on with crypto that you've been wanting to chat about?
I got one. Bobby, what do you think if we see Ethereum do a flippening on Bitcoin?
Ooh,
let's get the crowd riled up. What do you think?
I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibility, but I'm kind of doubtful on it. I got really excited. I bought the top back on. I bought into the top. I bought into the initial Ethereum flipping hype back in like June when ETH was at like 400 and then dipped all the way down to like 120. Guess who bought at 390? This guy. So I was kind of buying into that hype at that point in time. I was like, you know what? Bitcoin is kind of, Bitcoin's old news. Ethereum is, Ethereum to the moon, all that stuff. And I don't want to say I'm like Bitcoin maximalist at all right now because I definitely like Ethereum and I probably hold at this point in time a little bit more Ethereum maybe or on par Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm pretty equal,
Same.
but
yeah,
a flippening wouldn't surprise me, but I'd put it at less than like a 20% chance of happening. Still a long ways to go.
I think it depends on the time frame. Like, I'm bringing up CoinMarketCap right now. It's getting kind of close. Bitcoin's at 168 billion. Ethereum's at 104 billion.
You know,
So
Ethereum is such a major player when it comes down to this ecosystem and a main driver in what has really fueled this kind of crypto mania. So I think it is an
and
interesting.
I'm also noticing Bitcoin dominance 33% right now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That seems really low. I think that's got to be among the lowest it's ever been, right?
That might be. Yeah, I don't think it's ever dipped below 30% at all.
This is like just about an all-time low. It's the all-time low is like it was like 32.5. So this is basically the all-time low. Dude, if you bring up this Bitcoin dominance chart on CoinMarketCap, it's starting to look like a flipping is going to happen like pretty soon. I don't know.
Yeah, it
does. Crazy. It's a gnarly spiral downward for Bitcoin starting about like a year ago.
Yeah, it's that's the market. As it develops more, we're going to see that. So I think,
and Bobby, don't feel bad with your buy at 400 because I definitely bought the last top on Ethereum.
1400.
Well, it was close, 13 like 20 something. So.
Yeah.
Let's fucking go Ethereum. Come on, kill it.
I think one interesting thing too, though, now even like outside of Ethereum and the flipping there is like the next Ethereum competitor as well. Like somebody just said, I think Neo over ETH in the comments.
Yeah.
And the Neo DevCon's going on right now, and there's like all these different ICOs that are now popping up on Neo and Stellar, and some of these other ones. And I think that's going to be an interesting play to watch out for as well, as far as like if anybody else outside. I feel like the ICOs added so much market cap to Ethereum because people are buying these ICOs to get into, or buying Ethereum to get into these ICOs, and also it's just adding utility to the system. So if Neo or if any of these other ones can become like that next Ethereum or actually fulfill the Ethereum killer vision, that could be pretty interesting to watch as well.
And that's kind of an interesting, I hate to bring up this damn coin again, but Tezos, they kind of, even though they're a smart contract governance platform, they've taken a little bit different approach. They don't want people building sort of on it. They want all the changes to just be incorporated into the main blockchain.
Nobody's ever going to be able to build on it.
Pretty tough, yeah. If it ever launches. And so, yeah, definitely a pipe dream right now. But I think their argument was that with something like Ethereum, like the vast majority of the overall gains, if you really take a step back, is to the tokens, in general that have been built on Ethereum. If you take a look at like the aggregate gains in total. So I think their thought is that they can kind of aggregate those gains within the Tezos blockchain, which I think is like super ambitious. I highly doubt this actually going to work out. But
Killer, what's your thoughts on Tezos? Give it to us. Let's keep the crowd riled up.
Let's get them fucking riled up.
What about that blog post yesterday? I want the recap on that.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah.
Your boy
Johan
Gevers.
Yeah, Gevers. He comes out of the woodwork, out of witness protection for the past 6 months. So he finally give us an update on Medium. He decides to get on, start typing away, just typing. Gevers. He posts this post on probably, I think it was like late Sunday night, was it? And he basically gives like, it was actually like a fairly good recap. He was like,
I was happy with it. Like,
he was like, these are the reasons we didn't do anything the past 6 months. We were frozen by the banks. There was like you touched a little bit, I think, on the allegations levied by the founders. But it was like a decent post, it wasn't that long, but he was like, we're going to now get back to work and start forward, and we'll have more updates soon. So I was like, okay, awesome. This guy's like actually coming out and communicating. Anyway, the post gets taken down like shortly, like a few hours afterwards. And at first it just says like, I've taken it down for prudential reasons. And then he changes the reasoning as to like this thing where he says he got pressured into it I think he insinuated the founders. Or the developers. So I don't know. It's like a wacky situation still. I think these people, the founders and Gever, still hate each other. They can't get along. They can't seem to.
Who knows if I'll ever get my money back from that.
The Tezzies.
Yeah.
Release the Tezzies.
Yeah, Bobby's been great in campaigning for releasing the Tezzies.
I don't even have any. I just feel terrible for you guys.
Bobby,
you don't have any either.
I don't have any either, by the way, everybody.
I told him earlier, I said, guys, in our little chat, I said, guys, honestly, if you didn't have any, I would be rooting for this thing to be a freaking dumpster fire. But because
Honestly,
And I told you
It
guys
is.
too, I hate it so much. Even though I have it, I'm almost rooting for it to fail now too. I'd almost just rather see the whole thing crash and burn, have everybody fail.
Like if I didn't have any, I'd probably be rooting for it to just fucking die. But I do have some,
Yeah.
so I have to be positive. Yeah, that's funny. I saw a few
It's
people.
like we get a blip of good news.
There's a few people trying to chirp me in the chat because of my bio, and they say because I wake up to Gucci Gang every morning to get my mind right, that I need to be muted. Well, all I gotta say is, you know what? Let's just meet up and let's just talk it out.
Oh,
Let's just figure this
don't
out.
do it, guys. He stands on his hind legs at 13 feet tall. Okay, just warning you.
Meet me at the bike racks, bro.
Meet him behind the trees on the playground for a little one-on-one time.
Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang, Gucci gang.
I think we all need a little more Gucci Gang in our lives.
It definitely couldn't hurt. I mean,
I
really.
think, yeah, I think it would do us all some good. Get a little more Lil Pump in us. He's an artist. Did you guys hear he dropped out of Harvard to save the rap game, and he's only like what 17? Like,
Wait,
I don't know.
wait, you're
I don't
not
know
even in
how
Harvard at 17, bro.
I don't
How do
know
you
how he
drop out
came
if you're
up
not
with
even
this
in?
shit. I don't know how he came up with this shit, but I love it.
Oh my god. I like if you look at who he follows too, he follows like 3 people. Harvard, some girl, I want to say. Let's look it up.
Yeah, he only follows 3 people, and of those 3 people, one is Harvard.
The one's like Bill Gates or something.
He's got it going on.
Okay, the 3 are Smoke Perp, Harvard, and Miranda Cosgrove. Great combo. I love it.
Oh my god.
Is this Lil Pump even like a real person? Does anybody know?
Yeah, like
Is he the first synth robot?
I don't know. He's too much for me.
Singularity.ai or whatever that is.
Dude, this hairline is so sharp on his Twitter profile pic. Everyone needs to take a look at this. Lil Pump's profile pic. This hairline is ridiculous. It's manufactured.
It's manufactured.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So let's move on to over under here. We're gonna, Bobby. This is where we give the current price of a coin, and then we give a target and a time frame. So we're gonna do 2 weeks here.
Cool.
Everyone understand? Okay. I didn't know if I got cut off there or not. So first one, let's go with Bitcoin. Currently, according to CoinMarketCap, it's at 10,095. Over under 2 weeks, 11K.
What are we doing? Say it again. Sorry, I was distracted.
Bitcoin.
Yeah.
What other thing do you think would be over 11K?
Okay, I didn't even hear the price, man. Fuck.
BitConnect.
BitConnect.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah! I'll say over.
I'm going under 11K. I mean, Bitcoin already dropped big, and then it tried to recover, and it didn't recover.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it might creep above, but in 2 weeks, I might be a little off, but I think we're going to be below around 2 weeks from now.
Shit, see? Now I make a bold Max Payne 4K prediction, and all the bears are coming out now. Now they're comfortable. They're like, Prince has paved the way. He's going to be the meme. People are going to shit on him now. I can be a bear, too. I like this.
You are a bear, Prince. 13 feet tall on your hind feet, remember.
In many ways.
Bobby, what you got?
I'll say under 11K. I'll throw out the prediction that within 2 weeks this Tether stuff blows up even more, and we see under $9,000 Bitcoin. We're chilling somewhere above $8,000 for the next like 2 weeks or so. I'll say this Tether stuff doesn't end well. So we'll say under 11K. Why not? Let's go bear.
Boo.
All right, so I'm gonna say we touch 8,400, and then we bounce like mad, and in 2 weeks
So
we
precise.
will be over 11K. So
8,400, Dale.
this is what my
Why not 8,430?
We're going to get some wicked bounces along the way, right? Like, this is what I mean. Like, it's going to be some chop for the next while, and it's going to be a fucking bitch to trade. Like, I'm not... this is not fun stuff at all times. So
Yeah, wait till there's a clear trend, I would say, if you're trying to trade this actively, especially with the leverage. Be careful.
100x
careful.
leverage, duh.
Yep. BitMEX.
All right, next. Let's go Ethereum. Currently at 1,076. We're going to be over or under 12,000 in 2 weeks.
12,000?
Or I'm sorry, 1,200.
12,000?
1,200.
I'm going to go under now.
Wishful thinking.
Okay, we're doing 1,200, 2 weeks?
Yes, sir.
Fuck.
Definitely over.
Going over, eh? I went over on corn, so I'll go over on meth too. So, but yeah, I'll say over.
Meth.
Meth. Yeah.
Meth.
Well, I have a good story about Ethereum, actually. I had this Ethereum BTC long on Poloniex. I forgot I had it, but it's still open, so it's recovered nicely. Over 1,200 easily.
Oh, shit. I just saw someone say 600.
I saw that too.
Ooh,
Take it
that
easy
would hurt.
there.
No.
Speaking of FUD,
That would. I
A
would
lot of
be
flood
in
in
the
the
closet,
comments here.
curled up in a ball, crying if it got to 600.
by the way, I really want to touch on this. I love how every piece of like negative opinion is counted as FUD in crypto. It's like artists are all negative.
Fun.
you
If
can
it's
have
not
perfect
going up,
rational
it's
reasons.
fun.
You can have great reasons for being negative on something. People are like, stop flooding, get this flood out of here. It's like, I love the culture we've what's the word I'm looking for here? We've kind of created or developed. I'm not getting the word here, but yeah, it's hilarious. Like, you just get chased out of town for being at all bearish.
Yeah.
I get so triggered when somebody says every time I say anything, like I'll just talk about anything and it'll be like slightly negative and they'll be like, you futter, Bobby, you futter, I hate you. And it just gets
you're an idiot too. You're a fucking idiot.
It gets me so mad. There was a dude in YouTube. There's a dude in the YouTube comments today that called me a futter because he thought that the internal an internal audit, when he thought that the subpoena from the U.S. government, from the CFTC with Tether and Bitfinex, he thought that by Tether's auditor leaving them, that was the same thing. Getting an audit from an internal auditor was the same thing as having a subpoena from the government. And he called me a futter and an idiot. I'm like, you are the biggest idiot on the planet.
Oh, God.
So please stop.
Oh, God.
I get triggered.
Convince them of that. You know? It's like, it's never worth arguing, I feel like.
No.
Never. It's all sunshine and rainbows. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Yep.
Dale, what are you?
I'm going over. I bought at 1,300 odd change. You got to be optimistic, right?
I'm just.
Yeah, there's one thing about Dale. He talks his bags. He's like, I just bought a big old bag, bullish as hell.
Check out that Lux. What you know about that Lux, guys? So, no, realistically, I think I agree with which one of you guys said that. I was over on Bitcoin, or as Prince, so I'm going over on meth.
Yeah.
Bobby, did we get yours?
No, I'm gonna say under, but I'm gonna say it's gonna hold up better than Bitcoin. I think seems like ETH is gaining some. Obviously, I mean, if you look at the charts, ETH has gained back in the ETH to BTC ratio pretty nicely. Seems like it has some momentum, so I'm gonna say under 1,200, but I'm gonna think it'll hover over 1,000, kind of regardless of what Bitcoin's got going on. So I'll say under, but not by too much.
Hey, Bobby, end of year target for it. What do you got?
End of year target for Bitcoin or for Ethereum of 2018?
Fuck, come on, Dale.
This is tough, Dale.
What kind of shit
No,
is
I
this?
don't answer. I'm totally kidding.
I
don't want you to answer.
$70 billion.
Yeah.
I was going to say at least a gazillion. All right, next we have this has probably been the most commented coin in the live chat here. So let's see what you guys think of Litecoin. Currently at 162. Will it be over or under 225? Or I'm sorry, 200 in 2 weeks.
Under.
Litecoin is getting shat on lately a lot. I mean, I think last episode we were talking with Pierre. He was saying like the kind of silver for Bitcoin being crypto's gold analogy is absolutely ridiculous for Litecoin. I think his rationale was like the only reason that silver was invented was because like you couldn't divide gold into like that many pieces or a certain amount of pieces or whatever. It's like it makes no sense at all with cryptocurrency. And I thought that was interesting. I never thought about that.
Followers. Plain and simple. He dumped the top. I can't go over on that.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I know there's been different reasoning behind like why Charlie got rid of it, and he said he dumped it at different levels and everything. But I just think that was a terrible move on his end to publicize that.
Yeah.
Regardless of what his intentions were, I just think that was like the dumbest thing possible. Like if the CEO of a major company, granted, he's not the CEO of a company, but he kind of is the CEO of Litecoin, or he is the figurehead of Litecoin. Right. And the fact that he dumped it and told everybody about it, and it happened that it was literally at the top when he announced that at like 380 plus or whatever it was. I haven't been positive. I like Litecoin as far as usability wise. Like it's what I use to move between exchanges, but I wouldn't hold Litecoin as far as like an investment right now. And I don't know. Yeah. I think it has too much competition from like Bitcoin Cash, from Bitcoin with Lightning, from it's just a transactional crypto. And then people say it's the testnet of Bitcoin, but is that really something you want to value? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough comment to make. Testnet.
By the way, Stolioli in the comments goes, Litecoin is the stepson who works at Bob Evans.
So you guys want to hear a shitty story about me with Litecoin?
Yes.
So it is usually the coin that, like you, Bobby, I try and transfer between exchanges. So I was on Cryptopia trying to send some Litecoin over to Binance to buy some shit. And you know how you get those withdrawal emails from Cryptopia?
Yeah.
Well, I never got one, so it's just literally just sitting in limbo. I submitted a support ticket solid month ago, and it is just sitting there. It says 0 available. And when I bought it, I'm sure it was at like $300, but I had every intention on just transferring it and buying it, and now it's just fucking stuck there. What a goddamn joke.
It terrifies me, sending crypto.
If it's gonna happen to anyone though, like it's gonna happen to you, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's hilarious because it's kind of fitting. I don't know. It's like, fuck, more shit happened for Dale. Like, fuck.
I think I did the same thing recently.
It was the first time I did it too.
So yesterday I was looking and I had some OMG left over. I had it a while ago. I bought it back when it was like $1. And it's been doing nothing. I've been like, I kind of want to get rid of this bag. I don't know. I like OMG, but there might be better options out there. So I had it on my Ledger, and I don't even remember now what I was doing. I've been trying to rack my brain thinking about where I sent this to. And I checked Huobi, I checked Bittrex, I checked Binance, I checked everywhere. And I sent it somewhere. And it's a couple $1,000s. And I have no idea where it went. And I looked on the Etherscan. I can't find it, and I'm like, I might just have to eat this couple $1,000 hell right now.
Oh, man.
I have to do that routine about once every 2 months where I just go through every single exchange I've ever made an account with, like looking for some kind of coin or something. I'm like, surely this has to be somewhere. And like, I always inevitably lock myself out of like 2 out of the 7 of them or something because I can't remember my password. And I was thinking the reason is because like when I first sign up for a lot of these exchanges, I think they're like kind of bullshit. So I use like some random password that I don't normally use and like some garbage like email address. And so when I come back to it to try to find my coins, I can never figure it out. I have like any idea. And it's like, it's just part of the trials and tribulations of crypto.
Oh, crypto land.
All right, so for the last one, I was going to do Ripple, but
I don't want to do Ripple.
No, I changed my mind too. What we're going to do is pick a coin and make a bold prediction on it.
Oh, God. Wow.
Do you want me to go first since I got a really...
Yeah, I already know what you're going to pick.
Does it rhyme with Smucks?
Yeah, it
does. All right, so I'm going to go out on a limb here. Hang on, I'm trying to pull it up on market cap because I haven't been able to check my blockfolio in a while.
Actually, talking about Lux?
Lux Core, currently at $22.51, okay? I'm going to go out on a limb and say by the end of February, this thing will be over $50 because there's smart contract SegWit coming on the 15th.
All right.
It will keep going up.
Cut out there, Dale.
Yeah, I know, but I kept talking so it'll sound good. So if you want to hear all
fucking,
of it,
I don't care who hears. I'm talking anyway.
You got to listen to the podcast. Okay, next.
I'll go here. I'll pick Dragon because Dragon is a fan favorite, and I just like to get the people going.
Because you're a people person.
I'm trying to be. I'm not really, but I'm trying to be.
You're not really winning any fans over in this live chat with the bearish Bitcoin.
Yeah, I've done it in already. Dragon, I could see Dragon having maybe, let's say $15. That's, I don't know. Some people would still probably tell me I'm not shooting high enough, but I'm pretty conservative, I guess, on that sense. So.
What do you got?
What time frame?
Oh no, you got it.
What time frame? Sorry, my time frame was like, I don't know what, like 12 months.
Shut up.
What?
Next.
Fuck.
All right.
I'll say this. I don't have any money in it at all, but I've seen everybody and their grandma tweet either they hate this or they love it, and that's probably a decent sign. But like the whole ZCL Bitcoin private fork, I'll say that Bitcoin private is worth more than both Zcash and Monero, even if it's like not used at all and it just spikes through the roof. So bold prediction wise, let's say Z Classic or Bitcoin private is worth definitely more than Zcash, even though I'm a Zcash holder and that's been ripping my face off. And potentially more than Monero, even though half the people in Bitcoin think Z Classic is a scam. So
I think like I gotta give credit to Zcash holders because that's probably gotta be one of the worst coins to hold on to, like for any duration of time, because it's just such an asshole to try to like get moves out of it. Like I hate it.
I get so excited because all the like crypto OG traders will always like every once in a while a tweet be like some like random chart and they'll be like, all right, Zcash is about to make that break and it'll go up like 3% and they'll all celebrate because they have the biggest bags of Zcash and then it just dips another 15%.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there holding it like
every time. Like it's just
all right. I got a bold prediction. I've been talking about this coin a lot. I think it's very good to talk about right now, given everything that happened with Bitfinex and the subpoena and all that. AirSwap, AST is the symbol.
Yeah.
This is a coin.
Show my
it
bags.
is it's a decentralized exchange. The market cap right now is 150 million. The coin is $1.99 right now. So the ICO price was 35 cents, if I recall. So I think there's it might get cut in half. It might go below the ICO price, but I think that's going to somewhat act as a floor. Anyway, my prediction, currently $1. I think AirSwap is going to be over $20 by the end of the year. Pretty conservatively, actually. I think that's like fairly obtainable, like pretty quickly. I think that's going to be doable within probably 8 months. I think the stage is set if you look at all the current exchanges, how much they suck, the negative news, for them to kind of have a tailwind of publicity. This is the coin where the founder was on Bloomberg today, talking about it. So I think AirSwap, the chart looks pretty. It looks like a bull pennant to me on the Bitcoin chart. It looks like a bull pennant or a falling wedge, depending upon how you look at it on the US dollar chart, both of which are bullish. So I'm super bullish on AirSwap. I think it's going to break out pretty soon here. So bullish on that, over $20.
I like that.
I love that because I loaded up on more of that today.
Yeah, I got a bag, so I like that.
I'm interviewing their teacher.
Yeah, I think those are the two best in the decentralized exchange space.
Yeah, we had Oved on, I think, our third episode.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Friend of the podcast. Yeah,
He
very
is.
smart.
All right, any closing remarks for everybody?
Well, we have some people asking if we're high or drunk right now.
Yes.
To these recent predictions. If you meatheads were listening, at the start we said a bold prediction. A bold.
It's just going in on the commenters.
Oh yeah. If you're an idiot, I'm gonna tell you you're an idiot.
Take it in. Now you know how I feel on a daily basis. Take it in.
Oh, God,
I
couldn't do
I
it.
don't know how you do it. Like, I think dealing with crypto Twitter is enough. I don't know how the hell you do YouTube as well. So good for you, man.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you very much, Bobby. This has been super fun. This was a great idea. I've had a really good time doing this. So thanks again for being on and for being such a good sport.
Yeah, appreciate you guys winging this with me too on the old YouTube live and having this broadcasted out to, I don't know, 1,000 plus people.
This is wicked. Like, we got to do this again sometime because I was having fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to apologize for my shitty Iowa connection. I've literally been disconnected probably 6 times. So I want to apologize to everyone listening. even though I mean, I feel bad, but not really. So, listening.
Love you all.
Don't be a tight ass. Tip your freaking waitress. Hey, Mike Mack, Iowa does not suck. Let me ask you this. Do you eat, Mike? Do you eat?
Iowa sucks.
I'm waiting for your answer. Do you eat? Nothing?
Nothing.
Because if you eat, then more than likely, somehow, 6 degrees of separation, that came from Iowa. So you're welcome.
Mike said something. I don't know if it's if it's politically correct enough to put on the podcast.
Where is he? I thought he was in the limiter. The chat.
He eats something that let's take now.
Okay.
You don't want to go there.
Yeah. Mike, you're an idiot, but I like you.
Don't do that again.
New Jersey is not better than Iowa. Anyways, take care, guys. Peace out. Tip your waitress. We'll chat soon. Later.
Later.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys.